Considering a Ducati Monster for your first bike, or maybe your next one? In this video, I'll be test riding and reviewing this awesome Ducati Monster, and at the end, I'll give it a score from my point of view as a shorter, beginner rider. Now, a quick warning, I'm about to go into a little backstory to give you guys more context for this video, so if you just want to see me go vroom vroom, feel free to skip ahead to this timestamp. And for all you Ducati lovers out there, be sure to stick around till the end. I'll take you on a Ducati group ride with the new Lamborghini Revuelto, and I'll show you how I met the legendary Valentino Balboni. So be sure to check that out at the end of this review. Alright, hey guys, my name is Rea and I own a Honda Rebel 300. If you've been keeping up with this series, you know I'm on the hunt for my next motorcycle. And what started as a simple search has turned into a full-on mission to test ride every bike I can get my hands on. Now, if this Ducati Monster looks familiar to you, you're not wrong. I actually did a part 1, what is it now, like 10 months ago, where I just rode this around a parking lot. So this is a very long-awaited part 2, test ride and rear view. Now I'm going to cater this review specifically to two types of riders: fellow beginners who might be interested in this bike, and my short kings and queens. As a 5'4" rider, I think it's helpful to have videos out there from a variety of different perspectives. And just like with all my ride tests, we're going to start out with the specs of this bike. So let's get into it. Underneath all that beauty, we've got an 803cc air-cooled L-twin engine. Now this is basically a 90-degree V-twin engine, but Ducati has a special name for it and calls it an L-twin because of its fancy tilted angle. It's got this super cool desmodromic system, which is a classic Ducati move that lets this baby rev higher and just get more power. It's got a 6-speed transmission and puts out 87 horsepower and 58 foot-pounds of torque. The clutch is a wet multiplate with hydraulic control, which basically just means it's super smooth and easy to use. Okay, now for the shorties like me, the seat height is 31.5 inches. I can't flat-foot it, but my toes can touch the ground. We'll definitely be talking more about this later. And the bike itself weighs 369 pounds dry and 412 pounds wet, which, spoiler alert, feels pretty light and agile. The 2013 Ducati Monster 796 mixes sporty vibes with a design that just looks so good. First off, some don't consider this as just a bike. They look at it as a work of art. The exposed frame is beautiful, and can we talk about the single-sided swing arm? It's so visually clean and makes the rear wheel look like it's just floating. The whole philosophy here is less is more. The exhaust pipes are tucked right under the seat, which keeps the profile super sleek and makes it look even more uncluttered. And with the aftermarket exhaust that the owner put on, it's even better. You sit nice and upright on this with a slightly forward lean, which is great for comfort, but I have a note about this for the guys out there. I've heard the seat and riding position being shoved up against the tank like this can be uncomfortable for you guys, so just keep that in mind. Now for the reality check. These originally went for about $10,500, but you can probably find a used one for maybe $5,000 to $7,000. But even with a good deal, Ducatis are high maintenance. I've heard quotes equivalent to a month's rent for a Desmo service. But I guess that's the price you pay for being a cool Ducati owner. Anyways, there are a few other things that aren't my favorite about this bike, but we'll get into that at the end of the video. Also, the audio of me riding is chaotic. The exhaust is so loud on this bike that I couldn't really hear myself talk, and so I'm basically screaming into the microphone the entire time. So if you hear the audio jumping from the real sounds to a recorded voiceover, just know it's because I'm sparing your ears. Now, enough talking. Let's ride. Oh my goodness. Oh, does this tell you what gear you're in? You can't see it, right? I don't think so. I can easily go way too fast on this thing. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm not used to having so much power. This car is going a little slower, so I'm just keeping a distance. Wow. Yeah. Alright, so initial impressions after finally getting this bike out on the road. I'm glad I waited to ride it for real. Honestly, I probably could have taken it out of the parking lot the first time around, but it's always better to be safe. And with my riding skills and confidence improving over the last 10 months, I was really able to enjoy this test ride. The first thing that caught me off guard was the lack of a gear indicator. It forced me to focus more on my shifting, which is something I've been actively working on. It was a bit of a shock at first, but it made me rely more on the feel of the bike and my own intuition, which as a beginner rider is exactly what you need to transition from just being on the bike to truly mastering it. Another thing that stands out is just how light and nimble this bike feels. You really don't feel the weight of it, so you can maneuver it with minimal effort, which makes it so fun to ride. Now for shorter riders, the seat height is something to consider. At 5'4", I can tiptoe with both feet, which is more than enough for confident riding, but I did find it a little tricky when walking the bike backwards out of a parking spot. The bike itself isn't heavy to push, but not having a full foot planted on the ground makes it harder to get leverage. It's a minor inconvenience, and there are plenty of workarounds like using the hip walk technique or simply dismounting to push it. And if you practice short rider techniques like that, I think you'll be fine. I didn't get this part on camera, but it's worth noting. The bike produces a significant amount of heat. Because it's an air-cooled L-twin, the heat management is great when you're moving, but as soon as you stop at a light or you're caught in stop-and-go traffic, you're hit with a wave of heat from the engine. You feel that heat radiating right onto your inner thighs, and it was surprisingly noticeable.
Burning my freaking leg. Holy crap. Holy crap.
So that's something to keep in mind if you're planning on a lot of urban commuting. Alright, it's time for the Rea-View. This is the ranking system I came up with to score every bike that I ride, and it's broken down into a bunch of different categories. Some are a little more serious and some are on the fun side. So first up we have power. I'm giving the Ducati Monster 796 a 7 out of 10. Its 803cc L-twin engine pumps out 87 horsepower and around 58 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty impressive. Just to put that into perspective, that sits between the Scout Bobber at 100 horsepower and the Rebel 1100 at 86 horsepower. It's a very strong performer, especially for its 803cc displacement. Next, we've got handling. The Monster's handling is a key part of its appeal. It's built on this cool lightweight trellis frame. The bike loves to be leaned into a corner. It's super flickable, and the brakes are also a major flex, giving you crazy good stopping power. The firm suspension that makes it great on smooth roads can feel a little skittish over bumps, so for handling, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now braking. Okay, let's highlight the Brembo brakes here. The front has dual discs, which gives you so much stopping power and control. So for this, it gets an 8 out of 10. Now this category I call if can, if no can, which basically means can a short person like me flat foot this? And the seat height is 31.5 inches, which is a little tall for a shorter rider. It's definitely higher than all the cruisers on my list, but it's actually a mini win because it's slightly lower than the KTM Duke 390, which I had scored as 6. I'm still able to touch the ground while sitting on the bike, so the seat height is not too much of a problem for me, or maybe it's just because I'm used to riding more bikes now and my skills have somewhat improved, so for that, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. My favorite category is next, which I call Muscle Mommy. This is all about how heavy the bike is. This bike is a lightweight queen. It's lighter than the Triumph and all the other big cruisers on my list, which is a huge plus. I genuinely didn't even notice the weight of the bike at all while riding it. Like, I'm pretty sure I didn't think about the weight once the entire time. It felt like nothing, which is kind of cool, but also a little dangerous for new riders because I feel like you can get into a lot of trouble without realizing it on this bike. It's a speedy little thing, so just be careful. But I will give this a solid 9 out of 10. Next up is taco mode or couch potato. This category covers how comfortable the bike is to ride. The Monster's riding position is what you call a naked sport bike, which means you're sitting upright but leaning forward a bit. It's perfect for aggressive riding, but it's not the comfiest for riding around town. The firm seat and stiff suspension are not really your friend on long trips. Also, the bike produces a lot of heat, surprisingly. I guess this is a thing, and some Ducati models have a reputation for producing a significant amount of heat, particularly in slow-moving traffic or when idling. I was still able to ride it around and stuff, but sitting and waiting at a stoplight could get really uncomfortable quick. Also, like I mentioned earlier in the video, the riding position for guys might be uncomfortable, especially with that slightly slanted angle of the seat. You're basically being shoved up against the tank. So for all that, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Now for practicality, is this my daily driver? This bike is a weekend fun bike. The lightweight is great, but the very pricey Desmo service makes it a high maintenance diva. So if you're willing to put up with that just to own a Ducati, by all means, go ahead. But I'm not sure that ticks any boxes in terms of what I'm looking for in my next next motorcycle upgrade. And like I mentioned previously, commuting around town is not really ideal. I'd much rather ride this for fun on the weekends. So I wouldn't say this is a bike for low hassle daily commutes. And for that, it gets a 6 out of 10. Next is Techie Bits. This is where the 2013 model really shows its age. The display is pretty basic. There are no fancy electronic rider aids. Looking at the instrument cluster, it has a digital display with your speedometer, odometer, and trip meter. It also includes an RPM indicator, a clock, and a temperature gauge. But what really tells you this is a performance-focused machine is the addition of a lap timer with the ability to track lap times. It's on par with the Iron 883 and the Scout Bobber, but somehow worse because it doesn't even tell you what gear you're in. Now that shouldn't really matter for a more seasoned rider, but it's not the best for a beginner that's still trying to learn. Although some would argue the proper way to learn is to just feel it, become one with the machine, listen to it, and shift when the bike tells you to shift. I'm also guessing you are the same types of people that know exactly when you need to fill up on gas too, right? Because there's no fuel gauge on this thing either. Just a little light that comes on when you're already in trouble. But yeah, because of the limited and more basic tech, this is going to get a 4.5 out of 10. Now for the most important category, coolness. The iconic trellis frame, the single-sided swing arm, I see why some people call this a masterpiece. The Italian flair, the prestige of the Ducati brand. Yeah, this bike is very cool and just feels cool to be riding a Ducati. So this gets a well-deserved 9.5 out of 10. Another fun category is vibes. Does this bike have a personality? Yes, absolutely. The Monster 796 has this raw, thumping engine character. It gives the bike a soul. I really don't know how else to explain it, and it's definitely fun to ride, so I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. On to modability. Can you customize it, and how much will it cost you? The Ducati Monster is one of the most modded bikes, so you can find aftermarket parts everywhere. The naked design also makes it easy to access the engine and other components for maintenance and upgrades. Problem is, they're pricey. You can absolutely make this bike your own, but your wallet is going to feel it. Both OEM and aftermarket tend to be more expensive than those Japanese and even American bikes. The high cost of maintenance and specialized tools also contribute to the overall expense of owning and modifying this bike. So it's highly modifiable, but not too affordable, so this is a tough ranking, but I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. And finally, value. Is it worth it? This is tough. You can often find a used 2013 Monster 796 for a reasonable price, especially compared to its original MSRP. It's a great way to get into the Ducati club for less money than a new model. I'm actually going to look up how much the new model is. The base for the Monster 937 starts at $12,995, while the Monster SP has an MSRP of $15,995. Now keep in mind this is for the larger CC engine, and of course many improvements and upgrades have been made since the 2013 796 model. So back to the 796, you can definitely get a great deal on a used one, but you have to be ready for the maintenance costs. So I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10. It's an amazing bike, but for the purchase price and the cost of ownership, it keeps it from ranking any higher on my list. So with all that said, the 2013 Ducati Monster 796 comes in with a final score of 88. And honestly, I'm not surprised. I genuinely had a blast riding this bike. Now keep in mind, this rating is based on what I'm looking for personally, which is a comfortable daily commuter with a practical amount of power. So where did this fall short for me? First, as a daily commuter, especially in the stop and go traffic I face, it's just not ideal. The constant engine heat and the forward-leaning riding position makes it much better suited for spirited weekend rides. On top of that, you have to consider the long-term practicality, particularly the cost of upkeep and those notoriously pricey Desmo service intervals. Now, do I think this bike is good for a beginner? No. The Monster's powerful engine, even with modern safety features, can be overwhelming for someone just starting out. I believe a true beginner should always learn the fundamentals on a smaller, more forgiving bike. However, if you're a beginner who's already put in the time, and we're talking serious practice in a parking lot, developing your slow speed handling skills and throttle control, then yes, with caution, this could potentially work. Sure, some riders have successfully started on it, but for a true novice, a bike with a more relaxed, upright riding position and more forgiving characteristics is always the safer and smarter choice. But as a second bike or an upgrade, the Monster 796 is absolutely perfect. It delivers that significant power boost you're looking for, it's fast, and it's a ton of fun. The naked bike ergonomics offer a far more comfortable riding position than the aggressive forward lean of a sport bike, making it a fantastic choice to add to your stable for those spirited weekend rides. I'm curious to hear from any Monster owners out there. Do you agree with the points that I made in this video? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. And stick around because up next I've got some bonus clips where I take you along a very special Ducati and Lamborghini group ride. Yep, that's me. And you're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. A huge shout out to my friend Isaac for inviting me to join this incredible group ride and for letting me ride his Ducati Monster for this 2-part review. Can we spam the comments and say thank you, Isaac? Not only for the bike review, but for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to ride alongside the new Lamborghini Revuelto. The coolest part, though, was meeting Valentino Balboni himself. For context, he's the legendary former chief test driver for Lamborghini for over 40 years. And can you guess which is his favorite to drive? Leave your guesses in the comments down below and I'll reveal his answer at the end of this video. This was a wild experience. We met up and they told us they would pair each bike with a Lambo. They had an awesome turnout and actually 2 Revueltos. So after checking those out, we started our ride together around the island.
Oh, do they want all the bikes in the front? Oh, he just wants... What's happening? Are you behind me? I'm gonna go behind. Those girls were so nice. It's so hot. I'm dying.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous to do this. I've been on a few bike-only group rides, but this was my first time with both cars and motorcycles. I wasn't sure if the coordination would just be a nightmare, but honestly, it was pretty seamless. The Ducati group leaders did an outstanding job of directing us and navigating traffic. We had a few planned stops along the way, which was essential to keep a large group like this together. Even in a big group with seasoned riders, I never felt pressured to ride outside my comfort zone, and I appreciate the group prioritizing everyone's safety at all times. Another thing I have to mention is how convenient the Cardo helmet intercom was. We used it during the review ride and also in this large group, and it was so helpful. I was surprised though with the range. During the group ride, we were on the freeway at one point, and with Isaac just 3 or 4 cars behind me, we actually lost connection. The good thing is that once you get back into range, the devices automatically reconnect, so you don't have to touch any buttons or anything, but I was expecting them to have a bit more range than that. Anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed this review and video. Now for the answer to the question, Valentino Balboni said his favorite Lamborghini to drive is the Miura. So did you guess correctly? Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.